Welcome to the Win, Make, Give podcast. Chad Hyams here. Bob Stewart over there. Bob, how are you doing today?
Well, I'm better now that I got on the other side of this thing that was giving me a little bit of anxiety, Chad.
And that was?
Well, I had to go to the principal's office.
Oh, no. Still getting called to the principal's office at this age, Bob Stewart.
Well, I somehow, like, growing up, I never really went to the principal's office. Like, I was one of those kids that did all my trouble, like, underground, you know, like.
Okay. I was in the principal's office all the time.
Were you? I always knew when the teacher was looking. Like, I was one of those kids. I'm like, okay, they're not looking. Like, do what I got to do. And then, okay, they're looking. I didn't do anything.
Before we hear your story, I'll tell you, this is how bad it was. We had our announcements every morning, as most schools probably have, where someone came, gave the announcements, whatever was going on, did the national anthem and all that stuff.
Yep.
And it was students who did it in our school. I don't know if it was that way in your school too. One day, Vanessa Melman, that was the girl who did the announcements. She came on just like normal. We had the little ding that came on so everybody would stop to start listening. And she started with, "When the announcements are over, will Chad Hyams please report to the principal's office?" Like, that's how much trouble I got in that day, Bob Stewart. I preceded the national anthem. Okay. Now, what happened?
It's the Pledge of Allegiance. Wait, you went to Canada. You guys sang the national anthem?
We did the national anthem. Yeah, we did. That's what we did. And we did the Lord's Prayer for a while before they took that out of the schools and all that kind of stuff. It was a different time back then, right? Okay. You're too old, Bob. So we already know getting called to the principal's office meant one of the boys got in a little trouble.
Yeah, my youngest son he's got a bully in his class. This kid's been like picking on him. I'm not worried about my youngest. He's kind of his own little savage. Like, he's got a lot of confidence, and
sure, he's got to survive being the youngest. I mean,
yeah, there's this one boy that's been picking on him, and Carter like retaliates. And these days in school, you're not allowed to retaliate, right? And
right.
I don't know. It's and we waver into this school because the school we're supposed to go to doesn't have I don't know what the program's called, like the advanced kids program. My kid's like really smart in math. And so he goes to this other school. And so there's like a concern that if he gets into trouble, like he might not be able to come back to this school next year. And so, so we had to go have a little meeting with the principal. And on the way there, I had like massive anxiety, and I can like driving there. We maybe have talked about this before, but I don't get nervous about things until right before they happen.
Right.
Like when we go up in front of big audiences, my wife's like, aren't you nervous? Like, I'm nervous for you. And I'm like, no, not until about 5 minutes before I go up there. Then my hands are super sweaty and I'm like pacing around. And
I have seen that, Bob, behind the scenes. Yes.
I have to keep reminding myself, like, I'm really good at this. I know what I'm talking about. I know this subject better than anybody out in the audience. Like, I've got all these mental tricks for myself to calm myself down. But as I was driving there yesterday and I was like super anxious, it started making me think like, oh, like what, like I was literally in my brain. It's not that far of a drive either, but I was in my brain thinking like, what kind of mental models do I have to like slow my heart rate down right now? And by the way,
7-Eleven, Bob, 7-Eleven.
Yeah, it didn't work. Like I walked in, I was still a little bit nervous, and you know, my wife and I went together, and she's much more even keeled than me. So I basically just sat there and didn't say much, but I was filled with anxiety the whole time. And so it made me think that like, maybe there's an episode for us where we can talk about. Whoa. Okay, hold on.
You can't set us up like that and then attempt to do my job of segueing us into the obvious episode.
Sorry. Okay.
What's the outcome?
Oh, I mean, he's still in school, and who knows? Listen.
Did he put the bully in his place?
I'm just glad that it didn't, you know, I'm just glad that I didn't admit to the principal that in our house, we teach our kid that if somebody hits him, hit back. Right. Like, and you can't do that in schools anymore, apparently, or you have to just, you know, let the bully pick on you or whatever. So I don't know. No outcome that we were happy with. Like, our son has to keep his hands to himself for the rest of the year. And as long as he can do that, we think they'll probably let him back in school next year.
All right. And we won't know until today or tomorrow whether the bully's still picking on him because he figures he can get away with it.
This has been going on for a while. The thing, oh, I mean, it's silly. It's silly. Like out in these streets, Chad, this bully would not be picking on my son. Like I guarantee, like he's being protected by the, the rules of the school, which is whatever.
Okay.
Like I guess maybe in some sick and twisted way, I'm glad it's pointed at my son who can handle it instead of some other kid in the class who would like actually be getting bullied,
You've raised him right, and that's an excellent lesson to have right there. And now I'll let you segue that. Yes, Bob put together today's episode for us. And Bob, I want to give you a hug for it, not just for the title, for the fact that you found and listed for us the 9. You did not go 10. I love
like
that, Bob.
I had like 30, then I was going to do 5, and then I was going to do 10, but I knew Chad didn't like these numbers.
There you go. So. And we'll probably work 2 or 3 of them into one of them anyway as we go through it. Yeah, Bob gave me a list we're going to work from today of the 9 tactics so that you can mentally prepare for something you're dreading, such as driving to the school because you were called to the principal's office. Bob, look, me going to the dentist, that's something that I dread. I fear. That's the only time I can really think of where anxiety starts to work up in me because of past trauma. Are there any other situations that you've experienced recently or can think about that might be something you're dreading? It's not always work is what we're talking about. I mean, it could be a deadline. It could be a project, yet it's also what?
Oh man. I don't know. Like I have a certain amount of anxiety around any time that I have to confront somebody about something, no matter how big or small. Right. So that happens. I don't know. Like honestly,
and that could be anybody from your wife to the delivery guy to the manager of your bank or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I joke with my wife all the time. I'm like, one of the reasons that I married you is because my wife has no qualms about, going to the manager or letting them know they overcharged us at the restaurant, or like, I'm literally the one, Chad, who if they, tacked an extra $5 for a drink we didn't get on the bill, I'd just be like, well, it's fine.
I went to the manager yesterday while my mother, who was with us at lunch, was like, oh, don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it. And I was like, oh no, I'm worrying about it. All right. So folks, we've all been there, right? Whether it's the dentist, whether it's the principal's office, whether it's a confrontation that's coming up, whether it's a deadline, a presentation.
I mean, think about in our kind of primary industry, Chad, it's getting that price reduction from the
right. It's having bad news in that regard. Sometimes it's doing the work. It's that lead generation for a salesperson. They thought they got into it for all the fun of sales, not realizing there's lead generation. For some people, it's tax time, right, Bob? There's a lot of things that we could all be dreading for, and you've put together this list, 9 tactics for us to mentally prepare. So why don't you start us, Bob, and take control, lead us through this list today?
All right. Let's start with naming the fear or that thing causing the anxiety, like specifically name it, Chad, target it and kind of call it out and make sure you understand where it's coming from.
Okay. So, I mean, going to the principal's office, was that the name you were giving to it, that I'm being called unknowingly to the principal's office?
I think there, like, some of the fear was the conflict. Some of the fear was like the potential outcome of him, maybe not being able to go to that school, which would mean we'd have to try to find another school or maybe end up in the school that didn't have the program that he's a part of. So, and I'll be honest, like, I don't know that I got it named before I got there. And so what ended up happening is I probably walking in with this, just kind of this looming, darkness over the whole thing. Cause I wasn't able to name it and kind of, give it a target for me to focus on. It was just this grand sense of dread.
Yeah. When I go to the dentist, for example, I know what it is, right? I know it's pain that's coming because of triggers that I have from younger experience. I know it's judgment that's coming on, the condition. Oh my God, you got a seventh cavity, right? That kind of stuff, whatever it might be. I know it's the lack of knowledge because I'm not dentally smart other than it's my mouth. And here they're going to tell me all these things to sell me something. And I feel like they're going to take advantage of me through all of this. So what you're saying is we're going in there, not naming it like, hey, let's put a title on the book, yet it's naming what we're feeling going into that, the fear, the dread, the unknown.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
You know, like I think in our industry, Chad, you mentioned like lead generation and people getting up and coming into work and saying, okay, I'm going to get on the phone. And that used to give me all kinds of anxiety doing that. And it was rejection. Cause I knew when somebody picked up the phone and they were kind and nice, even when they rejected me, it didn't actually, like, it wasn't that bad, right? It was that demean rejection, I guess, if I really wanted to name it. Which, by the way, and this is probably further down the line, it didn't generally end up happening that way. But yeah, so we'll start by just naming that feeling specifically. What is that feeling that's causing the anxiety? What is that? Where is that fear coming from?
Okay, audience, play along at home. Think about something that makes you anxious. Maybe you have something coming up in the near future. Maybe you just dealt with something. Maybe you just have something like I do that's a regular occurrence. You know, you got to go back to the dentist sort of thing. Name it right now. If you need to hit pause, take 30 seconds. Number one, name the fear that's coming along with it. All right. Number two, now that they're back from pausing, Bob, number two is?
We're gonna separate the story from the facts. Like, and Chad, we had an episode, God, it might have been back in season 1 where we talked about like how
you
many
can't remember the episode we recorded last week. Yeah, you're probably going.
That's a fact. But we have all these negative thoughts that go through our head, and
95% of our thoughts are negative, and 80% of them are the same from yesterday.
Yeah, we have the same ones like day over day over day, and we start to build these stories. Right. I know I had a story in my head early in my real estate career when I would make phone calls that like I was going to get yelled at.
Right.
And I don't even know where the story came from. I don't know if somebody in the office one time had been like, I don't know, I hate calling these leads. They always scream at me. And I adopted that story. But like literally just sitting down and kind of separating, you know, my assumptions on one side and the facts on the other side. And a lot of times the gap between those things can be big, right? Like, for example, had I done this yesterday with the principal, you know, I might have been thinking that like him being kicked out of school was like on the table tomorrow, when the reality was it wasn't. That had never, like, the facts, and if I was to go through the emails and the communication, that was never being talked about. In my head, I had it that just
separating the facts from the story, find out what's truth and what's truthy.
Yeah.
Right.
Have you like what there's got to be some things, Chad, that like over the years you've crafted as a story that ended up kind of breaking down in the face of the actual facts?
Absolutely. There's tons of them, right? That it's going to hurt every time I go to the dentist. It doesn't hurt every time I go to the dentist anymore, yet my body still thinks that, my head still thinks that on the way in. This is going to hurt because all I do is flash back to the dentist filling the cavity when I was a kid without Novocaine, right? It's like, okay, that hurt, right? I got to separate the story from the fact. Just because I remember that one experience, and there were others, that doesn't mean every time, right? Just because a client canceled a sale because we had to deliver some bad news doesn't mean every time that happens that way. Yet we remember that one time that we brought bad news from an inspection in the real estate world or a price situation, and the whole deal fell apart and everything blew up and everybody was angry at everybody. And we think that that's every time. And it's not always going to be that way. That one time I had to confront my wife about something that I had been keeping from, that she's going to, it's not always. So folks, what Bob's telling you is take a minute, write down what's truth, and then what's kind of truthy that I'm kind of believing or think is real, yet might end up being a little fake news in there.
You joke with me about like having a bad memory, mostly because I ask you about things that happened like 2 weeks ago that I can't remember the details of. But every once in a while, maybe this happens to other people, I'll like be reminded of something that I probably haven't thought about in 20 years. I used to get scared about calling these people. And I can remember one time, Jonathan, my partner, saying like, look, just like you're going to call 10 people. And each time that thing doesn't happen, I want you to like lean out your office and be like, they didn't scream at me. And I can remember like after the 6th time in a row of somebody not screaming at me, I was like, okay, I'm not going to let you know, like I'm over it. Like I had gotten over it because I was like each time kind of naming the thing that was opposite of what my brain believed was going to be happening. So it was actually a pretty short order when I was recognizing every time it wasn't happen versus sitting there and just believing that the next time it was going to happen.
Yep.
Shout out my boy, John Washburn.
There you go. All right, Bob, keep us going. Number 3.
I mean, you got to know the why, Chad. Like you really have to be connected to the why. I mean, in my scenario, I guess I probably was, maybe even too much so in going to the principal's office. But my wife in that scenario, her why, and I think her scenario in every why where we have to go to bat for our kids is she doesn't feel like her parents stood up for her when she was a little kid. And so her why in like raising our children, a big part of that is she wants to be there to have their back. And so I don't have any question that anchored her yesterday as we were going in there, because she's like, all right, my why walking in here is like, I'm here to stand up for my kids. Right. So that I know with lead gen, I think that's a huge deal. There's a lot of days when I didn't want to get up and make those phone calls into our Brio Realty database. Right. I didn't want to do it. And, we had a why, like we were trying to build something that could provide for our families so I don't know that you got to figure out that why.
Yeah, folks, the thing I'm going to say about the why, I've said it before, I'll say it again, I'll soapbox on this all the time. Your why needs to be short-term why. Don't give me a why that's 10 years away, that you're going to, put my kids through college 10, 15 years from now if they go, right?
Okay.
That's not going to motivate you today. You're not going to connect to that why today, right? It's just like, in November, you don't connect to being beach ready and swimsuit ready. So you eat the turkey and the extra pie and the dessert and the treats that are coming from all the holidays because it's not close enough. So remember this. Bob's saying connect to the why behind going to the principal's office, behind going to the dentist and keeping good oral health, because one, I'm a speaker, so I better. And 2, the impact it has on my whole health in that situation. Yet you've got to be looking at it as short-term whys. Don't come with some big long-term why and thinking that's going to help you when you're facing anxiety today. Okay. Bob, keep going. Number 4.
Especially if this is like task-based, which a lot of the things that we're fearing are, just shrink it down, Chad, to like one step I can take.
Awesome.
Like what's the one thing, the next thing, the first thing that I could do to get this ball rolling. I think a lot of times what we do is I'm thinking through the whole thing.
Yes.
Right. No matter how big or small that thing is. And I think it just becomes more manageable if we break it down to the first call. And so that's what Jonathan did with me. Essentially, he's like, just make one call and then report back to me that they didn't scream at you. And so I'm like, I knew that. One call. Oh, hey, they didn't scream at me, which, by the way, made that next call just a little bit easier, right? I'm like, okay, I'm going to do number 2. Hey, you know what? They didn't scream at me there either. Okay. And the next call was just a little bit easier. So it's like, he was like judo minding me. He was like flipping me around. I didn't know what was happening, I guess, in hindsight as I look back, but that's what he did. He just broke it down to like one call. He said, hey, report, you're going to make 10 calls and each time you're going to stick your head out and report what happens. Like he was just breaking it down to a series of really small steps for me.
Yeah. First step, marathon's a whole bunch of steps. It's not 26 miles. It's a whole bunch of steps. Just do the first one. Then the next one comes. Before you know it, you're halfway, and before you know it, you're done. Don't worry about what the clock says, right? Same thing with every activity. You're absolutely right, Bob. Movement generates momentum. right? And if you don't move, you're not going to get the momentum and the motivation. You're not going to just sit there and all of a sudden get hit by a bolt of lightning and, oh, here I go, right? It's the stop getting ready to get ready. Just take action and then keep going because it'll become easier and easier to do. That's a great one you've got for us at number 4, Bob. Number 5.
Do a pre-mortem, not post-mortem, not, oh man, that went really bad. After, it's like what could go wrong going into that thing.
Yeah.
I think this is what I was actually doing on the drive. I don't know that I knew this was what I was up to in my little brain up there, but I was walking through like, okay, worst case. Like I do remember saying to myself, and this actually gave me a little bit of like, all right, that wouldn't be the end of, like, it was like worst case, he's out of this school and he has to go to the one by our house. And all right, because then my brain, here's where my brain started to go. Because we don't live in the neighborhood that like the kids go to school in. And so the boys don't have a bunch of friends like when they go out and play basketball. And they're always talking about, I wish we had more friends. There's like some places around here where there's definitely kids. And so in my head, I'm like, oh, worst case, ends up at that school and actually might end up with more friends in the neighborhood. And that wouldn't be the worst thing ever. And so like I was doing this kind of pre-mortem, like walking through what the worst realistic outcomes would be. And it's probably the only thing on this list that helped me yesterday. Because I didn't have this list yesterday, but yeah, that there's this, imagine the worst it could be. And it's usually not that bad.
I play best case, worst case. Yeah. Now your worst case, you weren't even close, Bob. Come on. Worst case, you went, they expelled him. He got into a complete revolt. He became a future bully at the school he was at because of it. He ends up being a criminal. He's behind bars. That's worst case stuff, right? All right. Getting shanked in cell block C one day, right? That's where playing worst case. Folks, if you play best case, worst case, almost neither will ever happen. Almost neither will ever happen. Yet you've now played the game where you've said, best case scenario, he goes in there. They're praising him for his actions and how he did this. And they're going to reshape the name. They're going to rename the school after him. It's going to change, right? Okay, it's not going to happen. And it's not going to happen on the other end. I like that you do the pre-mortem, Bob, instead of post-mortem, like, oh crap, now what happened? Let me look back. That's good at times. Yet before you go in, folks, play best case, worst case, or at least worst case scenario, because it's not going to be that. Yet it'll make your stress level drop when you start to realize how crazy worst case scenario could be. And then even if you're in Bob's situation, how there's actually positives in the worst case he came up with, because now maybe the kids end up with neighborhood friends because he has to change school. So that's an awesome one, Bob. All right. Number 6 is...
borrow courage from a past version of yourself or from a peer.
Ooh.
And okay. I think like I've done both of these things. I do this when I'm going up to speak. Like yep. I'll try to like put my brain into a place of being at the end of the last talk that I had when I'm feeling pretty good coming off of the stage. Right. Okay. So yep. I will definitely like think of a version of me that's done that thing or done something similar. But I watch this happen all the time in our world, which is just, if they can do it, all right, I can do it. So, courage is a funny thing. You can trick yourself into having it. But often it's easier if you can spot it somewhere in a previous version of yourself, or just sitting across the office from you.
I love that, Bob. I never would have really thought about, or the peer in that situation. Nita actually enjoys going to the dentist, right? Not like in some sadistic way. She enjoys going because she likes the feeling when it's done. She likes knowing this. She likes knowing that. So to her, going to the dentist isn't a stress issue. So I borrow her courage and say, well, if my wife can do it and think that it's not a problem, I can go do this.
Chad, I know you well enough to know, like, there's been other times in your life where you've looked around and been like, oh, if they can do it, I can definitely do that.
Tons of times I've done it. I never really thought about it in this situation, right? I intentionally sat in the bullpen in the office I used to work at when it was lead gen time, because if they can do it, I can do it. And I would sit there and say, oh, you guys are going to make calls? Watch me. I'm going to do better than you guys are going to do. Yet if I was behind a closed door in an office, I'd play solitaire, right? And be like, I don't want to make
I think like a lot of our, like the partners that I work with, that's a, you know, being in person for prospecting is a big deal because you do like, you get energy from those people and it helps you, you know, battle those mental giants that we're all trying to slay.
You can't show those demons when you're in front of people and you're looking to succeed. You're going to hide the demon and push through. So
Yeah.
I think that's great that you add the and borrow from a peer, because we don't always all have the courage. There's sometimes a first time we've jumped out of an airplane, a first time we've gone up on stage and had to make a presentation, and there isn't something we can lean back on and remember. Yet there's something we can say, oh, well, if Bob can get up on stage, watch what I can do, you know, and borrow that strength or that courage from someone else. Bob, I think that's an excellent one you got on this list. Number 7, as we go through the 9 things to help us prepare for something that we're dreading.
I'm going to call number 7, get a Chad. Get a Chad or an accountability device. Tell somebody about the thing that you're dreading that you know you're going to do, but you'd back out if nobody knew that you were thinking about doing it. Yeah. By the way, I don't know, like I'm not dreading going to the Kentucky Derby, so I don't know if this one fits into that, but just having that, you know, saying that thing out loud, scheduling it publicly. You'll see people do this on, you know, there's a big trend these days. You see it all the time, Chad, which is like somebody's they want to do something big. And so they go on Instagram and they say, it's day 1 of me doing that thing. Right. And I think, you know, I used to, sometimes I'd see those, you roll your eyes and you're like, this person, but it's a pretty big accountability measure. If you know, are publicly putting out there that every day you're going to do something, I would bet that people that do that probably follow through more than people that in their head just think I'm going to do this thing that would be hard or make me uncomfortable.
Yeah. And if you're going to do that, Bob's right. Putting it out there socially like that is a great way to do it. I would challenge you, if you're willing to do that, find 1 or 2 people that you can specifically tell. Because I've seen people do day 1 of, and I'll see up to day 3 of, and I'll just wait a week and then I'll message them and be like, I didn't see day 10. Right. And it's like, did the algorithm just not show it to me? Or, right. And they're like, crap, I didn't know you were looking, and they thought they could still get away with it. So I'll take that one where Bob says, get a Chad, right? It's get a commitment device that you're going to use. Get someone, an accountability partner, put it out there. If it's going to be social media and you're willing to do that, it shouldn't be that much harder to take one more step and say, hey, Bob, will you come on this journey with me or hold me to this journey? Folks, get a freaking accountability partner in your life, and it can't be your spouse. They let you off the hook. All right, Bob, number 8. I believe in this one 1,000%.
Yeah, and look, I'm not sure that I always would have, but I've watched my wife do this with our boys, and so rehearse out loud, like actually kind of go through the conversation, like really go through it, not in your head. That's where a lot of us will go through it, and that's where all those false stories will come up, and but actually saying the words out loud, Chad. My wife does this with our boys all the time. Like if there's anything where they're having to go to school and say this to a teacher or ask a coach in this way or present something to a friend, or like she's having them do it out loud to practice it so that time that they go and say it is not the first time they've said it, you know, not the first time it's come out of their mouth actually.
I have used that with Nita, right? Multiple times where I will have the conversation out loud with myself somewhere that I know we need to have, or we're going to have, or is something that's bringing some tension into the household or whatever. And I can and Ben, those are the 2 people I can think, and they're 2 of the people that mattered the most to me. So they were worth it. That I used to have conversations driving into the office all the time out loud, knowing that when I walked in there to have the conversation with him, at least I had it if I was able to actually corner him to have the conversation with me.
Yeah.
Right. So that is a great one. I love that. All right. I love to do them, so I'm going to do it while we get ready. Bob gave us a list. 9 tactics to mentally prepare for something that you are dreading, feeling anxiety about. And folks, we hope you've been pausing, maybe taking notes on something you're dealing with. If not, go back, ask yourself the questions we've been driving you to ask. Number 1 was name the fear, right? What is it that you fear, you dread, what's coming? 2, separate the story from the facts. Find out what's truth and what's truthy, okay? Connect the why behind the mission. Keep it short-term why. What is the thing that's going to drive you through the completion of this to deal with it? 4, you had shrink the task to its smallest version. You said, Bob, take a step, right? Do 1 step, move forward. It becomes easier. Number 5 was a great one. That was your pre-mortem, worst case scenario conversation. Number 6 was borrow courage from a past version or a peer, if need be. Number 7, set a commitment, get some accountability. Number 8, we just said rehearse out loud. Bob, what's number 9 on your list of the 9 tactics to mentally prepare for something we're dreading?
I mean, this is one that I every time we talk about this kind of like mental reframing, Chad, I always feel like I should let people know that I thought this was bullshit for most of my life, right? But I was wrong, and but reframe those nerves as a signal, not a warning. Meaning, like when you're nervous, your body is essentially like giving you a signal, and your brain is interpreting the signal. So like yesterday, I could have been telling my brain, like, I'm not nervous. I'm excited for the opportunity to put this to rest for my kid. Like, you can actually reframe the way your body's feeling.
Yep.
And how your mind is interpreting it, right? I'm not nervous. I'm excited, right? I'm not scared. I'm excited. Like, and again, a past version of me would have thought this is BS. Like, I'm lying to myself. But the reality is, yeah, you control your thoughts. Like, you get to decide what's going on up there, and the body's going to give you those signals. Those signals are programmed into you from going to the dentist when you were a child, right? Yep. You get to decide like how the brain interprets them. It's not, your body's not, it wasn't telling me yesterday that like I shouldn't do this, I shouldn't go. It was telling me like, hey, this really matters. Like, this is important.
And that's a great lesson. It's, for some reason, I don't know why, baseball pops into my head, right? Some of those guys who are the big name players now, I don't pay enough attention. Some of the big name players now, they strike out, they ground out, they pop out, yet they walk into the dugout saying, okay, I'm going to get out 7 out of 10 times anyway. So instead of getting depressed about, oh no, I have anxiety going to the plate because I'm not getting a hit right now, reminding themselves and changing their thought patterns to say, hey, if I get 3 out of 10, I'm a Hall of Famer, right? If I can do this, then that happens. You're absolutely right, Bob. We control our thoughts. Our thoughts, as I shared earlier, Clint has shared this with us many times. It was just shared on a recent interview that I did. I believe it's something like 95% of our thoughts are negative and 80% of them are repeats of thoughts we had just yesterday. This continues. These are your thoughts wanting to tell you, and you are allowed to stand up to them and say, no. I'm not scared to go to the dentist. I'm excited to get a clean bill of health. I'm not nervous about going into the principal's office and that my kid could get thrown out of school. I'm looking forward to the opportunity to present his case, or to know that this is going to be put to bed finally, or whatever it is. Folks, talk to your head because it will listen to you. You're the only one that gets to talk to it. So Bob, you went to the principal's office. You were a little stressed going in, little anxiety going in. How do you feel 24 hours later when you dreaded it going in? Was that dread worth it?
No.
Is it ever?
No. I mean, I'm learning this more and more, like, honestly, through doing a lot of this, through researching these things, that we joke, this is mostly for us, Chad. We just glad a few people listen.
And we appreciate each and every one of you that are listening. Look, someone you know is dreading something that's coming soon. Send them this episode. Let them become a win, make, give listener just like you are. And until our next episode, as always, do good.